Everybody, and welcome back to the Ranch. Dr. Uptown here, bringing you another 1911 today, and what you may notice is a big gaping hole right here where the mag release is supposed to go. Well, the story behind this is I got a call from Sniper Rob, and he was having a little trouble because he was able to, well, his original description of it was he could push the mag release in, but this side would not go back in to the pistol frame when it was released, but he could just simply push it back in with his finger, and he had fired several magazines that way, and then every time he pulled the trigger after that, subsequently the magazine would fall out. So I went over there to take a look at it, and it did seem to be pretty free, but what we found out was that the mag release was broken, and what had happened was during one of the times that I was cycling it, this half of it fell out of the frame. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace this. We are going to go ahead and take this pistol completely apart because this does happen to be an auto ordnance. It's a Worcester, Massachusetts one, so it is the same as my 100th anniversary pistol. It just simply does not have the 100th anniversary roll mark in the barrel or in the slide. So like I say, we're going to go ahead and completely disassemble this pistol down to the frame and take a look at the parts of it and see if we can get that magazine release replaced, which shouldn't be any big problem. Just take you through this as we do it. Like I say, these Worcester, Massachusetts pistols are the better ones as far as the quality control is concerned. These are the ones that are made by Carr and have pretty good quality control standards on them. Usually about the only thing that I really find to be a problem with these is the extractor tension. Quite frequently is a little on the light side. Other than this breakage with the magazine release, this pistol has been very reliable for Rob. So we're not going to make any adjustments. We may buff up a few parts just to clean it up a bit. Take some pliers and just crimp that last. Crimp down that last loop. See if we can get this, yeah, plunger spring to hold that plunger a little better. So we've got our sear spring out. Come back here and remove our hammer and our sear and disconnector. Now, when we remove this hammer pin and this sear and disconnector pin, what that will do is that will free up our Series 80 parts that are in there also. Now, just to give you a little demonstration here on how these parts fit in there. Our hammer pin, and then disconnector pin in there, and then the trigger bow will ride in there, something to that effect. And it kind of gives you a good visualization on how those parts actually fit in the frame. The difference between a Series 80 and a Series 70 is the firing pin stop. So when you push the trigger in, you can see that the bar moves up to touch the bottom or the button that's located right here on the slide. So you kind of see how those two parts interact. Where they sit in the frame is right next to the sear and disconnector, and a small frame cutout right here. So we'll pull into our spare parts bucket here, and I happen to have a number of different slide releases in here, so we will pull one of those out and see how our fit is. That one seems to fit pretty nice. What I am going to do is just touch up the bluing a little bit on some of these parts as we're replacing them. So that they all have a nice, decent finish on them. Gonna have to go into Lieutenant Colonel Renee's bathroom and steal some cotton balls. Okay, so we're back, and what we've done so far is we've just touched up the few of the parts that had some wear and tear on them with some cold blue, just to kind of give them a nice uniform color. We did go ahead and polish up the flat on the disconnector and the bows on the trigger. Right now we are just polishing up the channels that the trigger bow goes into to clean them up of any high spots or excessive parkerization that perhaps piled up during the manufacturing process. Just cleaning those up to make those channels as smooth as possible. What we'll do then is begin our assembly, and as I noted to you earlier, we do have a couple of extra parts to deal with, so that adds to the degree of assembly difficulty by about 4 times, because not only do you have to get the sear and disconnector in there, but you also have to get those parts in there. First thing we're going to do is go ahead and put the retainer back in the magazine release. We'll Follow that up with the trigger, which this one, by the way, had a very nice clean fit to it to begin with. Smoothing those parts up just will enhance that a little bit, but you can see that it's a nice clean fit anyway. Go ahead and put our magazines in, make sure they're retained and that they do drop freely, which they both fit in very nicely and drop very nicely. Now let's see if we can get those parts back in where they're supposed to be. As I was telling you before, Rob had noticed that he was having some issues and had called me thinking that perhaps he just had a magazine issue, but as it turned out he did not. Okay, well, let's do this. This is going to be kind of difficult for me to show you what I'm doing. I'm going to go ahead in with the disconnector part first. I'm going to try to slip it in so it is basically in the approximate alignment with the hole here. And then we're going to go ahead and assemble our sear and disconnector, as you guys have seen me do this many a time. I'm not going to pull you in right here real close yet. I will show you how those parts set in a close-up here in just a second. Once we get it together. Yeah. See what we have to do here to maneuver that part. Okay, so what we've done is we've got the lower part in place now. Let me see how close in here we can get. Okay, so here's the trigger bow, the back of the trigger bow. This is the disconnector. This is the sear. Now the only difference with the sear between the 70 and 80 series is the sear is narrower because you have to allow for this part to fit in there. And as we talked about when we had it on the outside, you can see right here where it touches the trigger bow. As the trigger is pushed back, it's raised up with the sear to release the hammer, which engages that second piece. Now with this particular pistol, the nice thing with the second piece is it can be brought in the top here and just laid in there, because it goes in at the same time that the hammer goes in. So, don't know if you can see it or not, but the one part goes into the little V cut in this part that we just dropped in. Okay, and that pretty much lines our holes up. So then we'll just take our hammer, slide it into place while we're holding that upper engagement part in, and drop our hammer pin in. So, now that we've got our hammer in, we can go ahead, we'll just put the hammer back, but you can see how pushing the trigger raises that engagement bar. Those are the two pieces that are in addition on an 80 series frame versus a 70 series frame. The rest of the assembly is going to be exactly like any other 1911 70 series. Shear spring goes into place, and bring our mainspring housing up a bit as we do. Move it up to engage our hammer wheel, get that into place. Still didn't get that as tight as I'd like. I don't like that pin falling out of there. Let's see if we can bind that last. Curl the spring a little bit tighter. Get this pin to sit in there so that it stays together, which is what you want. We're going to go ahead and put our little kink in it like we always do. You'll notice I'm working up a sweat again, and again it's hot out. I'm doing this first thing in the morning to kind of avoid some of the heat, but it's still like 90 degrees outside. So we'll go ahead and drop our grip safety in. Like I said, the two parts that I showed you on the outside of the frame, those constitute the two additional parts that you have on an 80 series frame. You also have a couple of additional parts on the slide. You got this push button and the associated spring that goes with that push button that unlocks the firing pin. If you look right now, you cannot push that firing pin in, but see if I can get both done at the same time. By pushing that pin in, then you are able to push the firing pin in. We're not going to take the slide apart just simply because we really don't need to for the repair that we're making. Once we've got the grip safety in place, go back in with the mainspring housing pin. Pop that into place. Just go through some of our function checks. And we're ready to basically put this pistol back together. One of the things I did want to do is I did want to go ahead and touch up that barrel shroud a little bit, polish it up a little bit. It does have a couple of notches here. I don't know if what exactly that's from. It appeared to me that perhaps maybe this barrel link was replaced at some point in time. Somebody got a little carried away with a hammer. So we'll go clean this up a little bit and we'll come right back and we'll go ahead and finish assembling the pistol then. Okay, back with you again. We do have that polished up. In the polishing process, we were able to pretty much remove those dings that were there on the outside of the chamber. So we'll go ahead and finish up the assembly on this. Move our barrel back into our slide. Of course, this is a GI model, so it does have the short guide rod. I did notice that I don't know if you caught that or not, but that recoil spring actually came out of that pistol backwards. Let me show you that. The open end should go on the end with the cap versus the closed end, which is supposed to go on the end with the guide rod. Now, some springs come with two closed ends, some springs come with two open ends. If you've got that situation, then there's not much you can do about it. You just pick a side and stick with it. But in the situation where you have one open end and one closed end, you want the closed end on the guide rod. Let's go ahead and put that barrel bushing on there too. This always hangs me up because I'm so used to doing this upside down. Another thing that you'll run into, particularly with the auto ordinances, is remember that lever that we put up? What that thing will do is it'll kick up when you've got the frame upside down, and it will block the slide from traveling back. You just need to remember to watch and kick that thing back down into place. Get our barrel link lined up so that we can go ahead and start our slide release in place. Move that back to the breakdown notch. Pop it into place. And then we can go ahead and put our cap and our barrel bushing back where it belongs. Okay. Cycling is fine. Thumb safety goes up into position and holds the hammer, which is what we're looking for. Grip safety is working properly and allowing the hammer to drop when it's depressed. Our disconnector is resetting properly, not allowing us to go to full auto. So I believe we got this repaired. Go ahead and put our grip panels back on it. As I did mention to you, this is the auto ordnance. This is the World War II reproduction model. It is simply marked on the slide as the model 1911 A1 U.S. Army. It does have the reproduction Bakelite style grips. Features the arched mainspring housing with the lanyard loop. And this particular one, these particular ones also have the wide spur hammer on them, which is correct for some World War II issued pistols and not correct on others. It just depends on which particular company made them and the time frame in which it was made in as far as authenticity. But Springfield has chosen to go with the wider spur hammer, and there's nothing wrong with that. Obviously it's not a World War II bring back or anything, so the inherent value of how correct it is basically irrelevant. We do have two magazines. We've got the factory magazine that came with it, and this particular one is a Chip McCormick Shooting Star. Both of them move in and lock into place just fine. So, now one thing I did look around at as I was messing with it, the broken mag release is actually a checkered mag release, and the replacement is actually a grooved mag release, which matches the grooves on the mainspring housing. So that makes it a little bit nicer and actually probably a little more authentic. One of the things you'll find as you do a lot of research is a lot of times if the mainspring housing was checkered, the mag release was checkered. If the mainspring housing was grooved, then the mag release would also be grooved. And that typically tended to go with the hammer also. If it was the mainspring housing was checkered, then the hammer would be checkered, and vice versa. So we've got this auto ordnance 1911 working again and holding the mags the way it should be. I hope you guys find this interesting. We'll talk to you later. You have a good day.